You make me think of one of the instruments that's used, one of the industry standard instruments that's used to measure engagement in organizations is the Gallup Q12 survey. And one of the main pieces of that has to do with relationships. And there are questions that solicit feedback about the extent to which a person has meaningful relationships at work. Because they believe in their research at Gallup that there's a great correlation between meaningful relationships and engagement. Another thing that I think you'll recall is about 11 years ago when I was working on my dissertation, you were a significant part of that in your editing and encouragement. And one of the things that we looked at during that time was this idea of disengagement, and formulated even more specifically was this idea of burnout.
Yeah.
And in the studies that were done, burnout was identified as the greatest occupational hazard of the 21st century. As you said, costing the economy billions in sick leave, visits to the psychologist, medications, all different types of issues, ultimately culminating in just decreased performance. And so that's really, really an important piece. And burnout is very much affiliated with the extent to which a person feels engaged and in turn appreciated. If you think about the importance of affirmation, both on a personal one-on-one level, but even in a public setting, and leader should not underestimate the value of that and how that can influence the entire way that a person can frame their work experience. Think about how much time we invest in the professional setting, and to go to a job day after day and feel like we're really not noticed, the work that we do is not necessarily making a difference.
Right.
A person over time will become apathetic. In burnout theory, they talk about, there's three pieces to that. One is emotional exhaustion, and we all know what that feels like. But over time, that then leads to increased cynicism, and then that ultimately leads to diminished professional efficacy, and where a person just feels like they have very little impact on the work that they're doing. And people that are at that stage would be identified as burned out and disengaged.
Right, and so, we circle back to the original opening thoughts that we stated at the beginning of the program, and that is, if leadership is going to impact in a positive way, and it's done in a format in which it allows for, I'm going to use the term, and it may not be the appropriate term, universal engagement within the context of the community or the organization, there's great likelihood that we're going to be able to be more successful within the concept of the organization, whether it's a service or product, and I think we're talking about all levels of organizations here. And so as we move forward into 2017 and beyond, there could be and should be, hopefully, an opportunity for leaders at all levels throughout our society, and I would like to think internationally all the way through. This is, we're pausing, we're thinking about, what are the possibilities and how can we re-energize ourselves as a society and as a world in which we look at things in a more positive viewpoint.
When you talk about the idea of leadership and positivity, I think that it's, we've presented a couple of theoretical kind of frameworks for looking at it, and we've definitely provided some anecdotal support for its importance. But when you think about that, Doug, what do you think are some best practices that a leader can engage in to ensure that positivity piece, that appreciation piece, that engagement element, that all three of those are present within the organization?
Well, it's, I'm pretty much, Tony, old school. One of the things that we as colleagues have an opportunity to do, and we do it frequently, is that we have two lenses when we look at things, and that has enhanced our ability to function as colleagues in a productive way. And I'm still of the importance that we absolutely have to personalize our relationships. That doesn't mean that you have to become someone's best friend, or you are the godfather of their child, or that you go on vacation with them. If that occurs, that's okay. But I think that the affirmation of the work. I had a conversation yesterday with one of our clients, and that I've dealt with my company for a while, and that is that let me know when I'm doing a good job. And you know that there are many organizations in which there's absolutely no evaluation of staff. And they've been in a position for 3 months or 16 years, and there's no, what am I doing? So I think a second thing, other than the personal thing, is to affirm and let them know what kind of a job they're doing. You know, what are the expectations? And an effective leader will do that and do it in a respectful manner. And you know, I've got my 4 Ps that I believe in, and that is, it's all about the identification of the problem or the issue, and making sure that everybody understands there's a process involved, and that you have to be very patient. And one of the things that I believe that on occasion we have a tendency amongst leaders in the last 25 years to be impatient. And then I think you have to wrap, an effective leader finds a way to wrap it around personal relationships and making sure that that's there. And then you recognize them. You figure out a way to recognize them. I know that you said at the beginning that people think that compensation is the paycheck, but it goes beyond that, as you well know.
That's right. I mean, one of the things that a leader wants is they want people to find inherent value in the work that they're doing. It's not just about, you know, external reward, which is that idea of a paycheck, that there is a much deeper element that makes people motivated to do something. And it's always interesting to have these conversations when you're looking at a vocation, a job, you know, where a person it may not be a glamorous kind of thing,
right?
You know, and how do you help facilitate an individual's framework, how they frame their work in a way where they can find that internal motivation, that inherent value contained within that work, so that they move from just, you know, performing a job, but maybe, and it's possible, even in those non-glamorous kind of positions where a person can even feel like they're engaging a calling on some level. You know, yeah. It may not be the job, but there may be a calling component that they're able to connect to that's much higher, that transcends the day-to-day task of, you know, being a sanitary engineer, for example.
Excuse me. I think that absolutely it is vital for all of us to figure out a way to find ourselves engaged in a meaningful way, and we're being affirmed. You know, we are at the tip of this particular issue. I think that in the weeks and months to come, we're going to be able to probably talk about this a little bit more. You know, I think it's very important at this point in history for American leaders at all levels, create an opportunity for dialogue in the workplace, within the organization, in the school, in the nonprofit, in churches, and to do it effectively in a way that allows us to have positive feedback from those people that lead.
I think you're right. I think it's an issue that is so important, so critical, and it has everything to do with how effective a leader and an organization can be.
Okay. In this case, we're going to find out, and time will tell about the dramatic changes that are the possibility for our future here in this country.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Well, it's been a good talk, Doug.
Okay,
and,
thank you,
to
sir.
be continued for sure.
Okay.
And thank you so much for joining us on this edition of The Reflective Leader.